time here in our part of town, like this story on the front page of the Review, is that a lot of the things that go on in our city government aren't always brought to our attention by our city employees. Case in point, the sewage seepage into 18 homes has a lot to do with whether sewers and storm drains are connected. Unfortunately, what we're finding out now is that a lot of people weren't aware of this situation and weren't prepared for it. We took the camera around to various homes in St. John's area to get some of this story, and I'm sure there'll be more to come. As I said, we went around to talk to a lot of people around St. John's to see what this was all about, and something funny started happening. The more people we talked to, the more we found out that there were more and more and more homes that had been affected by these two cloudbursts that happened, one on August 22nd and the other on September 2nd. Well, gee, you know, I even had one of my relatives that had a basement full of water from one of those cloudbursts. They were unusual. The Weather Bureau said there was about 11/100ths of an inch that fell within just a few minutes of time. And it seemed sort of like, yeah, it may have been an act of God that we had all that water coming down. But one of the people I talked to said, yeah, it may have been an act of God, but it wasn't God that pushed the sewage that came up through the drain in his basement floor. Well, now, if our city has separate lines underground for sewers and for storm drains, that would seem like something wasn't quite right. One of the people that I talked to was one of our St. John's video gorillas who had his own camcorder, and he videotaped what it looked like in his basement, and this is what he saw.
This is for the second time water came clearing here. How far this is as far as the water's gone, it's just started into the third room. And then it's receded again. It was raining, but God, this shouldn't happen every time it rains, especially in Oregon.
Just slush, slush, slush. Here's wrinkling. Look at this. This is terrible. My son here. This is the carpet we pulled out of the basement. See, we're trying to let the water dry out of it. This thing weighs about 900 pounds right now, feels like. Okay.
The rains came in August and September 2nd there. You and your family were out of town?
At that time, yeah. Yeah, we just arrived home just in time to catch the first one, 2 hours after it happened.
Yeah.
Our neighbor, we came home, our neighbors alerted us that it had rained. We hadn't known yet. The kids came in, they had some stuff to put in the basement, and it went splash.
And we threw it down the bottom of the stairs.
They threw it to the bottom of the stairs and it went splash, and they said, "Mom, Dad, it stinks down there."
Oh dear.
And we, of course, came right in, and yeah, it stunk, and it was wet. It was, you soaked your feet.
Tell me, what did it smell like? Was it like chemicals or sewage or what was it?
The nearest thing I can put it to is an outhouse. That's the nearest thing I can.
And how deep was the water?
At that time, the water had already receded. The neighbors told us that it happened some time ago, and it didn't last very long. And the water had already started to recede back down through the drain. The nearest we can tell by the water line, probably 3 inches.
Mm-hmm.
But the water was still holding in the carpeting at the time.
August 22nd and September 1st.
Yes.
We had a tremendous downfall of rain here in Portland. And where were you when that happened?
I was at the store on August. It didn't affect me, but September did.
Okay, and what happened?
Our basement got flooded.
Were you, when did you find this out?
After you get off work and you come home and it's a 3-day weekend and you can't do nothing until Tuesday.
Was the water still down there when you got home?
No, the water drained out type thing. It was still there a little bit, but it was draining. It was going down.
Did you, were you able to get it out any faster, pushing it out down the drain or anything like that?
Only half the drain. That's where it come up.
What all did you have downstairs?
Carpets. Our daughter just moved back home.
Mm-hmm.
St. John's Review did a deal about this too.
Mm-hmm.
And it said in there, you know, we had to do a lot of wash. Well, the reason for the wash was we had lots of boxes of clothes. Our daughter just moved home. We had to do like 35 loads of wash. We didn't, my wife did.
Yeah.
That night we were going to have bunco. We're going to have a guest, 6 couples over for our bunco, and so this was around 3 o'clock, something like that. And I had to go down to the basement to get something, and anyway I went down, and gee, oh no, you know, water was an inch or 2 deep, and I called up the wife and I says, "Oh geez, this is terrible," you know. I was just so, and so I got a broom and I started sweeping the water over towards the drain. We have a drain by our washer room there, and just boxes and boxes on the floor, and there's rugs and there's laundry and there's everything is just sopping wet. You know, it's just a mess. Went down the drain, but the drains are just as good as until something plugs them up as it goes down, because sweeping, there was sort of a sooty looking stuff. I don't know what that was. I thought it came out of the fireplace or it came out of the furnace. I didn't know where it came.
Well, when I came down here, this was on the 31st, I think, was the first, September 1st, second time. I came down and the water was coming out of that drain in the shower, I'd say a good 6 or 8 inches, just boiling out. The toilet was running over on the floor. There was water out, to probably halfway over to the stairs and back into here some, but we had gotten stuff up off the floor the first time, after the first time, so that you know, nothing got wet in here like it did the first time. But the first time we were out of town, and our daughter was here, or she discovered it that night when she got home from work. We spent most of the day Saturday. I think we got home on Friday night. We spent most of the day Saturday And Sunday afternoon after we got home from church, cleaning up the basement down here.
What did it smell like? Did it smell like chemical or sewer or toilet or?
Well, it's really hard to explain. You'd have to almost smell it. It was sort of a pungent smell, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I don't know whether the smell was more from cardboard boxes getting wet and a combination of the rugs and the leather and everything that's getting wet. Naturally, that's going to make a smell. It wasn't like raw sewage backing up. It was more like just water in there.
There's still some smell down there. If you want to go down there, we can go smell it, but it's not as bad as it was.
What did it smell like when you first stuck your nose in?
I can't say that on TV.
Well, did it have a smell like chemicals or sewage?
It's a hard way to say, it's something that you don't want to breathe.
Yeah, it stunk, and it was wet. It was, you soaked your feet.
Tell me, what did it smell like? Was it like chemical or sewage or what was it?
The nearest thing I can put it to is an outhouse.
Sewage. It was just a stale smell, you know.
Did it smell like there's any chemical content or, you know, like a gas or something like that in sewage?
Not that I could distinguish. It was just a bad smell. As a matter of fact, my wife mopped the floor, I think, 2 or 3 times with Purex and Clorox or something like that to get the smell out. Just got it all cleaned up and it happened again.
Today you called your insurance agent. What did he tell you?
He says if somebody broke a window and put a hose through it, would be covered. If the pipe broke, would be covered. But if it comes back up through the sewer, we're not covered. So I called the city. I'm not really sure. I started calling lots of the government type city offices.
Mm-hmm.
And all they kept doing is having me call some other office.
Uh-huh.
I've got pages and pages.
Let me see this here. This is
There's like 15, 20 pages, and they
1,
keep saying
2,
call somebody
3,
else.
4, 5, 6, 7,
And they keep saying call somebody
12,
else.
13. Holy cow.
And all at once, you get the same answer. I've called even places like the health department. I thought they'd be concerned. And I've got a note there, and I got it dated, and the health department says they were no help at all. I called the state health department. They said call DEQ. I called DEQ. You know the DEQ won't do nothing against the city?
Well, in this case, you've put a lot of time in on the phone. You've gotten a lot of answers from the city, from the state, from different agencies.
I gotta correct you there. I've never really got any answers.
You got
I got a lot of runaround.
You got a new phone number to call when you call.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get across.
Did they?
I think we could eliminate about half of our offices in the city.
Have you did you contact City Hall yourself? Any?
The water bureau, and they were very nice. They actually they said they'd send somebody out to check what they call the sump. Well, the sump is these drains, I guess, out in the street that the water comes down. They already said there wouldn't be any compensation, and if it was just be my labor, they said that I was responsible anyway for trying to, if I just left it there to mold and get rotten, and then there would be damages, they wouldn't pay me because I didn't take action to rectify that. Now, I don't know what you'd do if I was out of town for 30 days on vacation or away, you know. That stuff would have come back, would have been ruined.
We called the insurance agent first thing, Monday morning, and for the first time. And what we were told, and we discovered it on our deluxe homeowners policy. You're not covered for any water that comes up through the ground or through the city system. If the water had come down through the ceiling or coming through a broken window, we would be covered.
But they won't cover the city's
No,
system?
no, they say that the city should be responsible for that. That's entirely up to them.
You talked to your agent about that clause, or they explained it?
Well, yeah, we discussed it, and it's pretty ironclad. There's no way of getting around it. After that, it was just basically, my wife's been in contact with the city. I've been in contact with the city. We've had crews out to look at the drain. We've had crews out to look at the sewer. They've pulled the lids off. The crews came out to look at the sewer system, and they pulled the lid off and showed my neighbor that there was just a trickle of water going through the drain system, that the drain system, there was nothing wrong with the drain system. It was shortly after that that my other neighbor here that was affected, I was talking to her, and she mentioned a sump hole out here. She thought it had a pump. It doesn't have a pump, it is just a hole.
Just an access for workers?
Just an access. We've been told what it's designed to do is take the overflow in just this situation. Now they came out and showed my wife, and I looked at it. They said that the walls on it were plugged. My wife had to show them on their map where the sump hole was. They didn't have any idea that this sump hole was out there, the crews that they sent that particular day. She went out with them. The man said, yes, it didn't require cleaning. The last time it was cleaned, nobody knows. We have samples of the crap that's on the walls and on the insides of the pipes, and it's very similar to the garbage that came up through the basement drain.
Did anybody with the city ever talk to you about putting a valve into your line, a safety valve?
No, not until after this occurred. Not until the very, I think it was the day I called my insurance agent. We contacted the city that day, and we got our request in the mail like 2 days later, our application for this device. Other than that, we had no idea that there was any call for it.
Which city bureaus, which did you first contact, and who all did you talk to since?
Okay, we went through the city sewers, the water bureau, the sewer repair and maintenance, and you get a little bit of a different story from each one. Now, the water bureau, has nothing to do with it. The sewer company says that comes under maintenance, so we got the